I'm here with my partner.
Yeah, Marco Miror, also from Winter's Coming. We're trying to host this panel. We're new at this, so bear with us.
Yes, we've never done this before in our lives, so joke's on you, Phil. So this is the wonderful fall of House Stark. They've given us a very positive, uplifting story to speak to you about and to interview people on. And this is, but the first thing I want to do actually is sort of involve everyone in this conversation. First of all, how many of you are show watchers only, i.e. you have not read the books? Let me have a show of hands. Okay, all right, not many. And most of you then are book readers. Show of hands of no one who's even heard of this show or seen it. You need to get out, sir. Sir, you need to leave. Okay, my second question is this. We all know, those of us that have read the books, how George R. R. Martin kind of does things, and he sort of takes things and twists them. And people have asked me before, what do I think will be the ultimate fate of House Stark? And I always kind of hem and haw, and I say, well, I think it's going to be this, or it might be that. I want to actually put the question to you guys. And the answer is one of two things, and we'll do this with a show of hands again. First of all, I want to know, how many of you think that by the end of the series, that we're talking when the whole thing is over, if the Starks will get the justice that they deserve? Show of hands. Okay. All right. Okay. And how many of you think, by the end of the series, that we're all going to be shaking our heads and going, bleeping George, you screwed the Starks again? How many? Wow, that's pretty even. Okay. All right. What do you think, Mr. Donaghy, is going to be the final fate of House Stark?
Well, it's going to be very different from the way House Stark began, obviously, because so many principal characters, so many generations have been slaughtered, and we know from the books that it's not just the people we encounter when we begin reading, but Ned's father and his brother were also victims of the politics and the strife in Westeros. So it will be a very different House Stark, I guess. Winterfell's destroyed, so many of them have died, and the kids are going in such different directions. And I guess when we see such a split in the audience, it shows how sophisticated and complicated the narrative George has created is, and we can't really guess what's going to happen. I mean, it is a toss of a coin. I mean, which direction has he decided to take us in? Will it ultimately be uplifting? Will it have a more romantic feel to it, and that the Starks will have some kind of positive resolution, or will they, will it continue down the darker road, and they have no life beyond what we see them at the moment, sort of tailing off into oblivion and madness and unhappiness. I like to think, perhaps because it's my nature, that George is the kind of writer, and I've not discussed this with him, this is not something that could be attributed to conversations. I like to think that he's a man who has an essentially positive view of the world, and no matter what tribulations people feel, and what difficulties they undergo, that the human spirit does triumph in the end. And I have a suspicion that the Starks will be part of George's mechanism for putting that message across, and sometime in the future, whether it's through Jon Snow or whether it's through Arya or whoever, you will see they will play a part in a better resolution for humanity than the one we see at the moment.
King Rickon is one of my predictions, actually. Christian Love?
Hi guys. Well, I have a theory that George sits on YouTube and he watches all these convention videos. He listens to our answers, and then there's no way that's ever gonna happen. He listens to our theories and then he's just gonna trounce them. But I'm gonna say it anyway. I want what I think and what I want are two different things. I definitely want retribution to the Starks. I would like them to lay waste to the Lannisters and take over the kingdoms again. But in reality, I would like to see Arya. Probably, I'd like to see her become a badass ninja. Obviously, Bran's got a very interesting storyline as well. We don't really know what's going to happen there with him. obviously he can end up immensely important. I don't think, to be honest, knowing George, it's not going to happen. We're all going to be left wanting retribution, and it will be unfulfilled. Yeah, that's pretty much what I predict.
Art?
I hope King Rickon. I think King Rickon. That's about it, really. I don't put much thought into it. Usually, like, I don't sit writing down, you know, what I think's going to happen. I wish I had that patience. Unfortunately, 11 and the modern day 11-year-old doesn't.
Do you think if Rickon makes it to the end, does Shaggy Dog also make it to the end, or does he die?
Yeah, I hope Rickon goes wild with Osha and, you know, becomes this big badass king. But, yeah, hopefully it will.
All right, Rickon's stand-in. Young man, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I haven't actually really been doing this ever in my life, really.
Me either.
Well, yeah, I've been enjoying being on set of Stin, and I can really enjoy that. So,
If you had a vote, would you say Rickon survives till the very end? Is he going to keep going?
hopefully, yeah. Okay.
King Rickon. Thomas.
This one?
Whichever works.
Does that work? Yeah. I think for me, what makes Game of Thrones so enjoyable is that it has a real sense of reality, and you can actually believe that this could have happened, this whole story that's taking place. And in real life, things don't always follow the fairy tale ending. So I really wouldn't be surprised if the Starks just meet a horrible, nasty end, which they may well do, but they have several assets in place in their children, and I think there's definitely the potential for them to go on and do some very great things, and I like to think that the Starks will get their revenge, and they are kind of the good guys of the whole show. But then an awful lot of bad things do happen to them. But I mean, the other great thing that makes the show so good and the book so good is that no one knows which direction it's going to go, and it just keeps going up and down and round about, and so it's completely open. So the honest truth is, I have absolutely no idea.
Finally, Isaac.
Well, I think sometimes a sad ending can be slightly more fulfilling and interesting than a happy ending. So what I'd like to see is, I think, all the Starks sort of save one, destroyed, and just the final shot, just one Stark walking away from King's Landing completely defeated. Because I like there being no hope. That's just my personality.
Nice.
Miserable.
Sorry.
Okay, another round. So, right, what would you say the Starks did to deserve this? Or to phrase it better, what did they do wrong?
What did the Starks do wrong?
Well, what they did wrong, if you want to see it in those terms, is they judged other people by their own standards. The Starks are honest, decent, and noble people, and their servants and their clan and their extended family, generally speaking, with the notable exception of Theon, they no exception of Theon, they follow the same rules. And I think one of the great things about George's writing is that there's a fantastic political undercurrent in everything he writes, but it's not done in a didactic fashion. It doesn't cost you over the head. It doesn't get in the way of the narrative. All it does is actually it enhances the pleasure you can take from his writing. And the very clear thing, one of the things that the Starks do, one of the purposes they serve in that strand of his writing, is that they demonstrate that nobility is not enough, strength of purpose is not enough. And when you have the kind of responsibility and the kind of power that the Stark family has, and they're an enormously powerful family, they could easily have had control, political and military control of the whole of Westeros. And for reasons of nobility, reasons of culture, they choose not to exercise that power. They suffer terribly as a result, and the people for whom they should have been responsible. All the small people, all the people who are not interested in the great people's wars, they suffer as well. And it's an object lesson in how not to exercise power. And it's a terrible regret, they're decent people, but they let the other guys, sneak up on them, and everybody suffers as a result.
I say that I am actually personally suffering because I'm actually sitting beside someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Follow that.
So can I sort of paraphrase what you said? Okay. I'm going to actually take notes from now on what you're going to say. Yeah, I just think they put honour above everything, and unfortunately, Westeros, I think, is quite a realistic type world in the way people respond to that, and unfortunately, yeah, honour is not enough. People are going to shit all over you. Basically, that's a concise way to say it, quite rude way to say it, but yeah. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. Thank you, Ron.
Speaking of suffering, how happy were you to be given the right to take Isaac to the wall and not carry him?
Sorry?
Just how lucky were you when you were given? How happy were you when you were given the cart to
Oh.
Isaac?
I have no idea. I'm so happy. My chiropractor thanks. The card builder. Look at the size of it.
Yeah. For the record, Isaac, how tall are you now?
10
I
foot.
actually don't. Yeah, 10 foot. I genuinely don't know, but I think I'm about 5'7".
You're a lot
I have to
bigger
look
than
at
you
my
were when we
mum.
started.
I'm about 5'7". Yeah, she's given